Everybody, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, where we're taking a journey. That journey is expanding our consciousness to the point where we can understand who God is and what God does, what this world is, how it is created and maintained and never destroyed by the world. The reason we're doing this is because we're going to get very soon, which is 10th canto, in which we hear about the source of all of those powers, all those energies, all those information, everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Krishna says in Gita, Aham. Aham means I. It's a Sanskrit pronoun, possessive pronoun. It means I. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. I am the source of everything. And that's a literal meaning. Vishnu is included within Krishna. The material world is included within Krishna. Everything is included within Krishna. So in order to be able to understand that and hear about Krishna when he's a cowherd boy, playing with the cowherd boys and letting them jump up on his back and all doing...
Could you put that fuzzy thing back on? It sounds like there's a background noise in the microphone.
Sorry, we thought that you blooped. But you can come back, no problem. Does that make a difference? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. In case you didn't notice, we have these new super fragilistic XPL doshas. I learned this from Tamal Baba just now. He taught me the mantra.
It's gone now, but there is
A beep sound? Oh, thank you.
but it's better now.
Is it clear? Is the sound clear? Who's telling us?
Rati and Sudevi.
Okay.
Sudevi says it's okay now.
Okay, good. I guess they probably came with this already. Okay, where was I? I was talking about God and everything, and who's the source, and this and that, and the other thing, right. So then when we hear about Krishna, when he's playing with the cows and, getting, like played with by the gopis and all these things, then we won't make a mistake to think he's just an ordinary person. And then we can understand that the spiritual world, that the local Vrindavan spiritual world, is very special. Look on this. It's good. Turn off the fan. Turn off the fan. Yes, turn off the fan. Yeah. No, next. That'll do. This is an extremely sensitive microphone. And when fans are in the room, microphones they interfere with the microphone. Okay? Does that make a difference? What, Bob? Okay. Time in. I feel like I'm doing the recording in the morning. This is what it's like recording in the morning. You're in this little thing that's about this big, and you can't move because the microphone is so sensitive. This makes this look, kid stuff. If you go like this, it picks it up. So you have to not move, and at the same time you have to emote. So if you wonder why when I come out I look like I've been working for about 12 hours, that's what it's like. It's very difficult, very difficult. Okay, so anyway, we're on the 9th canto, we're coming close to the 10th canto, and therefore we're going to get a little extra purification just on our way to Goloka Vrindavan. And so we're hearing about the dynasty of Manu, and Krishna will come in this line of generation. And that's what this is about, bringing us to the time when Krishna comes. Okay, so Sanatana Goswami, he is telling us the glories of the Bhagavatam in very, very sweet poetry. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram Ki Jai. And it goes like this. Sarva Shastabdipi Yusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwan Duditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madhika Bando Mat Sanghin Mat Guru Man Maharana Man Nistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin ati nichochita kada anamuncha kadachin mam premnare kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with true love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It looks like we're just about ready to get changed up. Is it? Sorry about that.
Should be fine now.
It's not going through that, is it? No. Hare Krishna. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Hello, 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 hello. You been to India? No? Yeah? You been to a program in India? Outside? No? This is what they do. Hello, hello. And usually it's a young kid, and they have the when they sell the amplifiers, they put it all the way to 15, and then they break off the, this is a joke, and they break off the knob so it only goes one volume, full on. Okay. Hare Krishna. So, we're going to hear now about Ambarisa Maharaj. But before we do, we're hearing about the ancestors, or the dynasty of the Manus, the special personalities who are empowered persons who rule over the universe. 14 of them in every day of Brahma. We're beginning with text 10 in chapter 4 of Canto 9, for those of you who want to look it up in the book or your device. Okay? Okay. Thereupon, after offering obeisances to Lord Shiva, Nabhaga said, now you remember Nabhaga? Remember him? He went to the forest. His brothers thought he had renounced for good. And they divided up, and in the meantime the father went to the forest. So what they did was they divided up the father's things among themselves. Oh, the father didn't go to the forest. Then when Nambaga came back, they gave him the father for his share. And so the father said, "I'm sorry, I'm not yours. You're mine." So this is a dilemma. So then he told him, "You go to this sacrifice up in the Himalayas, and then you do something." I'm not sure exactly what he did. It wasn't clear exactly what he did. Correct the priests or something, and then you'll get the remnants of the sacrifice, the gold and the wealth. So he did that, and they gave it to him. And then Shiva appears all of a sudden, and he says, "By the way, that was offered to me. It belongs to me." And then and Nambaga said, "But my father said, and they said, so I thought it's mine." He said, "Okay, let's go to your father," Shiva said, because he knew. Shiva said he knew that the father would say it's his, because it was. So he went to the father, and the father said to his son, Nambaga, "By the way, that sacrifice was offered to Shiva, so all of that actually belongs to Shiva." So what did Nambaga do? He said, "Okay, I surrender," paid his obeisances, and because Shiva was so happy with that mentality, that surrendered mentality, he said, "Okay, it's mine, I give it to you." And that way, long about, he got it. Okay, that's where we are right now. Thereupon, after offering obeisances to Lord Shiva, Nambaga said, "O worshipable Lord, everything in this arena of sacrifice is yours. This is the assertion of my father. Now, with great respect, I bow my head before you, begging your mercy." Text 10. Lord Shiva said, "Whatever your father has said is the truth, and you are also speaking the same truth. Therefore, I, who know the Vedic mantras, shall explain transcendental knowledge to you." So this is what you really get in terms of wealth when you surrender. You get real knowledge. Text 11. Lord Shiva said, "Now you may take all the wealth remaining from the sacrifice, for I give it to you." After saying this, Lord Shiva, who is most adherent to the religious principles, disappeared from that place. So there you go, that's the knowledge. He's going to explain the knowledge. You surrender to me, therefore I give you this. That is the way of perfection. That is real knowledge. Sarva dharman parityajya. Text 12. If one hears, I think I remember hearing this. Anyway, if one hears and chants or remembers this narration in the morning and evening with great attention, he certainly becomes learned, experienced in understanding the Vedic hymns, and expert in self-realization. Text 13. From Nambaga, Maharaj Ambarish took birth. Maharaj Ambarish was an exalted devotee, celebrated for his great merits. Although he was cursed by an infallible Brahmana, the curse could not touch him. Text 14. King Parikshit inquired, "O great personality, Maharaj Ambarish was certainly most exalted and meritorious in character. I wish to hear about him. How surprising it is that the curse of a Brahmana, which is insurmountable, could not act upon him." Text 15 and 16. Shukadev Goswami said, "Maharaj Ambarish, the most fortunate personality, achieved the rule of the entire world, consisting of 7 islands, and achieved inexhaustible, unlimited opulence and prosperity on earth. Although such a position is rarely obtained, Maharaj Ambarish did not care for it at all, for he knew very well that all such opulence is material. Like that which is imagined in a dream, such opulence will ultimately be destroyed. The king knew that any non-devotee who attained such opulence merges increasingly into material nature's mode of darkness. Purport. For a devotee, material opulence is insignificant, whereas for a non-devotee, material opulence is the cause of increasing bondage. For a devotee knows that anything material is temporary, whereas a non-devotee regards the temporary so-called happiness as everything and forgets the path of self-realization. Thus, for the non-devotee, material opulence is a disqualification for spiritual advancement. Text 17. Text 17. Maharaja Ambarisa was a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, and of the saintly persons who were the Lord's devotees. Maharaja Ambarisa was a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, and of the saintly persons who are the Lord's devotees. Because of this devotion, he thought of the entire universe as being as insignificant as a piece of stone. Text 18 through 20. Maharaja Ambarisa always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna, his words in describing the glories of Krishna, his hands in cleansing the Lord's temple, and his ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, Krishna's temples, and Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavan. He engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. He engaged his sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulsi offered to the Lord. And he engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasad. He engaged his legs in walking to the holy places and temples of the Lord, his head in bowing down before the Lord, and all his desires in serving the Lord 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaja Ambarisa never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 7.1, the Lord recommends Maya Sakta Manak Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashraya. This indicates that one must execute devotional service under the guidance of a devotee, or directly under the guidance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not possible, however, to train oneself without guidance from the spiritual master. Therefore, according to the instructions of Srila Rupa Goswami, the first business of a devotee is to accept a bona fide spiritual master who can train him to engage his various senses in rendering transcendental service to the Lord. The Lord also says in Bhagavad Gita 7.1, Asangshayam samagram mam yata gyasyasi touch trinu. In other words, if one wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead in completeness, one must follow the prescriptions given by Krishna by following in the footsteps of Maharaj Ambarisa. It is said, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchate. Bhakti means to engage the senses in the service of the master of the senses, Krishna, who is called Rishikesha or Achyuta. These words are used in these verses. Achyuta Sat Katodaye, Rishikesha Pada Bibandane. The words Achyuta and Rishikesha are also used in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is Krishna Katha, spoken directly by Krishna, and Srimad-Bhagavatam is also Krishna Katha because everything described in the Bhagavatam is in relationship with Krishna. Text 21. In performing his prescribed duties as king, Maharaj Ambarisa always offered the results of his royal activities to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the enjoyer of everything and is beyond the perception of material senses. He certainly took advice from Brahmanas who were faithful devotees of the Lord, and thus he ruled the planet Earth without difficulty. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, Bhoktadam Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatpamam Shantim Richjati. People are very much anxious to live in peace and prosperity in this material world, and here in Bhagavad Gita the peace formula is given personally by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone should understand that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ultimate proprietor of all the planets and is therefore the enjoyer of all activities, political, social, cultural, religious, economic, and so on. The Lord has given perfect advice in Bhagavad Gita, and Ambarish Maharaj, as the ideal executive head, ruled the entire world as a Vaishnava, taking advice from Vaishnava Brahmanas. The Shastras enjoin that even though a Brahmana may be very well versed in the occupational Brahminical duties and may be very learned in Vedic knowledge, he cannot give advice as a guru until he is a Vaishnava. Sat karma nipuno vipro mantra tantra vichadadaha avaishnavo gurur nasyad vaishnava chapacho guru. Therefore, as indicated here by the words Tan Nishta Viprabhita, Maharaj Ambarish took advice from Brahmanas who were pure devotees of the Lord. For ordinary Brahmanas who are merely learned scholars or experts in performing ritualistic ceremonies are not competent to give advice. In modern times, there are legislative assemblies whose members are authorized to make laws for the welfare of the state. But according to this description of the kingdom of Maharaj Ambarish, the country or the world should be ruled by a chief executive whose advisors are all devotee Brahmanas. Such advisors or members of the legislative assembly should not be professional politicians, nor should they be selected by the ignorant public. Rather, they should be appointed by the king. When the king, the executive head of the state, is a devotee, memo to Trump. When the king, the executive head of the state, is a devotee, and he follows the instructions of devotee Brahmanas in ruling the country, everyone will be peaceful and prosperous. When the king and his advisors are perfect devotees, nothing can go wrong in the state. All the citizens should become devotees of the Lord, and then their good character will automatically follow. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvar gunaish tatra samasate suraha haro bhaktasya kato mahad guna mano retena sati dabato bihi. One who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods. But one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. Bhagavatam 5.18.12. Citizens, under the guidance of a Krishna-conscious king, will become devotees, and then there will be no need to enact new laws every day to reform the way of life in the state. If the citizens are trained to become devotees, they will automatically become peaceful and honest, and if they are guided by a devoted king advised by devotees, the state will not be in the material world, but in the spiritual world. All the states of the world should therefore follow the ideal of the rule or administration of Maharaj Ambarish as described here. So this is a very interesting point, and Prabhupada wanted the world to be under this kind of management, but he was not impractical also. He knew that's not possible today. But 5,000 years from now, let's see. As everything kind of implodes and explodes, and Krishna conscious movement gradually goes, more and more influential, Then we'll see. But we don't have any information directly about what that will be like yet. Stay tuned. Text 22. I mean, we are getting information about what it will be like. In desert countries, where there flowed the river Saraswati, Maharaja Ambarish performed great sacrifices, like the Ashwamedha Yajna, and thus satisfied the master of all yajnas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such sacrifices were performed with great opulence and suitable paraphernalia, and with contributions of dakshina to the brahmanas, who were supervised by great personalities like Vashishta, Asita, and Gotama, representing the king. Representing the king, the performer of the sacrifices. Purport. When one performs ritualistic sacrifices as prescribed in the Vedas, one needs expert brahmanas, known as yajnika brahmanas. In Kali Yuga, however, there is a scarcity of such brahmanas. Therefore, in Kali Yuga, the sacrifice recommended in Shastra is Sankirtan Yajna. Yajnai Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumeda Saha. Instead of spending money unnecessarily on performing yajnas impossible to perform in this age of Kali because of the scarcity of the yajika brahmanas, one who is intelligent performs Sankirtan Yajna. Without properly performed yajnas to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there will be scarcity of rain. Yagyad bhavati parjanyat. Therefore, the performance of yajna is essential. Without yajna, there will be a scarcity of rain, and because of this scarcity, no food grains will be produced, and there will be famines. It is the duty of the king, therefore, to perform different types of yajnas, such as the Ashwamedha Yajna, to maintain the production of food grains. Anad bhavanti bhutani. Without food grains, both men and animals will starve. Therefore, yajna is necessary for the state to perform, because by yajna, the people in general will be fed sumptuously. The brahmanas and yajika brahman priests should be sufficiently paid for their expert service. This payment is called dakshina. Ambarish Maharaj, as head of the state, performed all these yajnas, although great personalities like Vashishta, Gotama, and Asita, through great personalities like Vashishta, Gotama, and Asita. Personally, however, he was engaged in devotional service, as mentioned before. Savai, Manat Krishna Padadavindayo. The king or head of state must see that things go on well under proper guidance. And he must be an ideal devotee, as exemplified by Maharaja Ambarish. It is the duty of the king to see that food grains are produced even in desert countries, what to speak of elsewhere. Text 23. In the sacrifice arranged by Maharaja Ambarish, the members of the assembly and the priests, especially Hota, Udgata, Brahma, and Advaryu, were gorgeously dressed, and they all looked exactly like demigods. They eagerly saw to the proper performance of the yajna. Text 24. The citizens of the state of Maharaja Ambarish were accustomed to chanting and hearing about the glorious activities of the personality of Godhead. Thus, they never aspired to be elevated to the heavenly planets, which are extremely dear even to the demigods. Purport. A pure devotee who has been trained in the practice of chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord and his fame, qualities, form, paraphernalia, and so on, is never interested in elevation to the heavenly planets, even though such places are extremely dear even to the demigods. Narayana padak sarve na kutas chanabhibyati swarga pavarga narakeshu apitulyartha darshinaha. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. The heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same to a devotee. Bhagavatam 6:17-28. A devotee is always situated in the spiritual world. Therefore, he does not desire anything. He is known as akama, or desireless, because he has nothing to desire except to render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Maharaja Ambarisa was a most exalted devotee of the Lord, he trained his subjects in such a way that the citizens in his state were not interested in anything material, including even the happiness of the heavenly planets. Text 25. Those who are saturated with the transcendental happiness of rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead are uninterested even in the achievements of great mystics. For such achievements do not enhance the transcendental bliss felt by a devotee who always thinks of Krishna within the core of his heart. Always thinks of who within the core of the heart?
Krishna.
Just checking to see if everyone was still here. Purport. A pure devotee is uninterested, not only in elevation to the higher planetary systems, but even in the perfections of mystic yoga. Real perfection is devotional service. The happiness derived from merging in the impersonal Brahman and the happiness derived from the 8 perfections of mystic yoga, anima, lagima, prapti, and so on, do not give any pleasure to the devotee. As stated by Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, Kaivalyam narakaryate tridashapur akasha pushpayate durdanten triyakala sarpa patali protkata dangstrayate vishwam purna sukayate vidimahendratish chakitayate yat karunyakataksha vaibhavadatam tam gordam evastu maha. Chaitanya Chandramrita 5. When a devotee has achieved the position of rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he thinks the impersonal Brahman to be no better than hell. And he regards material happiness in the heavenly planets to be like a will-o'-the-wisp. Sorry, that's me. My fault. Hare Krishna. Okay, finished. We'll read that again. When a devotee has achieved the position of rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he thinks the impersonal Brahman to be no better than hell. And he regards material happiness in the heavenly planets to be like a will-o'-the-wisp. As far as the perfection of mystic powers is concerned, a devotee compares it to a venomous snake with no teeth. A mystic yogi is especially concerned with controlling the senses, but because the senses of a devotee are engaged in the service of the Lord, Rishikesha, Sevana, Bhaktir Uchate, there is no need for separate control of the senses. For those who are materially engaged, control of the senses is required, but a devotee's senses are all engaged in the service of the Lord, which means that they are already controlled. Param Drishtva Nivartade, Bhagavad Gita 2:59. A devotee's senses are not attracted by material enjoyment. And even though the material world is full of misery, the devotee considers this material world to be also spiritual because everything is engaged in the service of the Lord. The difference between the spiritual world and the material world is the mentality of service. I'll repeat that again, if you don't mind.
Please.
Can I do that again? The difference between the spiritual world and the material world is the mentality of service. Nirbandha, Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchate. When there is no mentality of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's activities are material. Prapanchikataya buddhya harisambandhi bastuna mumukshubhi parityago vairagyam palgu katyate. Bhakti Prasamrita Sindhu 1.2, 256. That which is not engaged in the service of the Lord is material, and nothing thus engaged should be given up. In the construction of a high skyscraper and the construction of a temple, there may be the same enthusiasm, but the endeavors are different, for one is material and the other spiritual. Spiritual activities should not be confused with material activities and given up. Nothing connected with Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is material. A devotee who considers all this is always situated in spiritual activities, and therefore he is no longer attracted by material activities. Param drishtva nivartate. Bhagavad Gita 259. Text 26. Text what?
26.
Just checking. Going to give you some spot quizzes pretty soon. Snap quizzes. The king of this planet, Maharaja Ambarisa, thus performed devotional service to the Lord, and in this endeavor practiced severe austerity, always satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his constitutional activities. He gradually gave up all material desires. Purport. Severe austerities in the practice of devotional service are of many varieties. For example, in worshipping the deity in the temple, there are certainly laborious activities. Shi vigraha radhana nityanana shringara tan mandiras marjanado. One must decorate the deity, cleanse the temple, bring water from the Ganges and Yamuna, continue the routine work, perform arati many times, prepare first-class food for the deity, prepare dresses, and so on. In this way, one must constantly be engaged in various activities, and the hard labor involved is certainly an austerity. Similarly, the hard labor involved in preaching, preparing literature, preaching to atheistic men, and distributing literature door to door is of course an austerity. Tapo yuktena. Tapo divyam putrika. Such austerity is necessary. Yena satvam shudyat. By such austerity, in devotional service, one is purified of material existence. Kaman chenayar jahao. Indeed, such austerity leads one to the constitutional position of devotional service. In this way, one can give up material desires, and as soon as one is freed of material desires, he is freed from the repetition of birth and death, old age, and disease. Text 27. Maharaja Ambarisa gave up all attachment to household affairs, wives, children, friends, and relatives, to the best of powerful elephants, to beautiful chariots, carts, horses, and inexhaustible jewels, and to ornaments, garments, and the inexhaustible treasury. He gave up attachment to all of them, regarding them as temporary and material. Notice they didn't say that he gave them up. He still had them, but he gave up the attachment to them. That's the secret. Purport. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjataha. Material possessions can be accepted as far as they can be used in devotional service. Dr. Chris, come and sit in a chair. Don't sit like that. It's not nice. Thank you. You got your feet pointed at Tulsi. It's an offense. That's okay. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarhan upayunjataha. Material possessions can be accepted as far as they can be used in devotional service. Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. Anukulyasya sankalpa. Pratikulyasya varjanam. In preaching, many things considered material are needed. A devotee should not have any attachment for such material involvements as house, wife, children, friends, and cars, recording studios. Maharaja Ambarish, for example, had all such things, but he was not attached to them. This is the effect of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti parisha nubhavo viraktir anyatra cha. Srimad-Bhagavatam 11.2.42. One who is advanced in devotional service, getting your attention, one who is advanced in devotional service has no attachment for material things, for sense enjoyment. But for preaching, to spread the glories of the Lord, he accepts such things without attachment. Anasaktasya vishayan itarham upayunjataha. Everything can be used to the extent that it can be engaged in Krishna service. Text 28. Being very pleased by the unalloyed devotion of Maharaja Ambarish, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gave the king his disc. Now we understand how it happened. I always wondered about that, how it is that the disc started chasing Durvasa all of a sudden. And there was Krishna. He didn't. Now I missed this, right? Question answered. Being very pleased by the unalloyed devotion of Maharaja Ambarish, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gave the king his disc. He must have known what was going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. Which is fearful to enemies and which always protects the devotee from enemies and adversities. Purport. A devotee, being always engaged in the service of the Lord, may not be expert in self-defense, but because a devotee fully depends on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is always sure of protection by the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj said, Naivo dvije para duratyaya vaitaranyas twad birya gayana mahamrita magna chitaha. Bhagavatam 7.9.43. A devotee is always merged in the ocean of transcendental bliss, of rendering service to the Lord. Therefore, he is not at all afraid of any adverse situation in the material world. The Lord also promises, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. O Arjuna, you may declare to the world that the devotees of the Lord are never vanquished. Bhagavad Gita 9.31. For the protection of the devotees, Krishna's disc, the Sudarshan Chakra, is always ready. This disc is extremely fearful to the non-devotees. Pratyanika Bhayavaham. Therefore, although Maharaja Ambarish was fully engaged in devotional service, his kingdom was free of all fear of adversity. Text 29. To worship Lord Krishna, Maharaja Ambarish, along with his queen, who was equally qualified, observed the vow of Ekadashi and Dwadashi for 1 year. Purport. To observe Ekadashi Vrata and Dwadashi Vrata means to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those interested in advancing in Krishna consciousness must observe Ekadashi Vrata regularly. Maharaja Ambarish's queen was equally as qualified as the king. Therefore, it was possible for Maharaja Ambarish to engage his life in household affairs. In this regard, the word tulya shilaya is very significant. Unless the wife is equally as qualified as her husband, household affairs are very difficult to continue. Chanakya Pandit advises that a person in such a situation should immediately give up household life and become a vanaprastha or sannyasi. Mata yasya grihe nasti bharya cha priyavadini aranyam tena gantavyam yataranyam tata griham. A person who has no mother at home and whose wife is not agreeable with him should immediately go away to the forests. Because human life is meant for spiritual advancement only, one's wife must be helpful in this endeavor. Otherwise, there is no need of household life. Hare Krishna. Text 30. In the month of Kartik, after observing that vow for 1 year, after observing a fast for 3 nights, and after bathing in the Yamuna, Maharaja Ambarish worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, in Madhuvan. Madhuvan is one of the forests of Vrindavan, one of the 12 forests of Vrindavan. Texts 31 and 32. Following the regulated principles of Mahabhishek, Maharaja Ambarish performed the bathing ceremony for the deity of Lord Krishna with all paraphernalia, and then he dressed the deity with fine clothing, ornaments, fragrant flower garlands, and other paraphernalia for worship of the Lord. With attention and devotion, he worshipped Krishna and all the greatly fortunate brahmanas who were free from material desires. Text 33 to 35. Thereafter Maharaja Ambarish satisfied all the guests who arrived at his house, especially the brahmanas. He gave in charity 60 crores of cows. Shall we put that into perspective? 1 crore is 10 million. 60 times 10 million. 600 million cows. Whose horns were covered with gold plate. You'd need Fort Knox to do that now. And his hooves were covered with silver plate. All the cows were well decorated with garments and had full milk bags. They were mild-natured, young and beautiful, and they were accompanied by their calves. After giving these cows, the king first sumptuously fed all the brahmanas, and when they were fully satisfied, he was about to observe the end of Ekadashi with their permission by breaking the fast. Exactly at that time, however, Durvasa Muni, the great and powerful mystic, appeared on the scene as an uninvited guest, Atiti. Atiti means uninvited guest. Text 36. After standing up to receive Durvasa Muni, King Ambarish offered him a seat and paraphernalia of worship. Then, sitting at his feet, the king requested the great sage to eat. Text 37. Durvasa Muni gladly accepted the request of Maharaj Ambarish, but to perform the regulated ritualistic ceremonies, he went to the river Yamuna. There he dipped into the water of the auspicious Yamuna and meditated upon the impersonal Brahman. Text 38. In the meantime, only a muhurta of the Dwadashi day was left on which to break the fast. Consequently, it was imperative that the fast be broken immediately. In this dangerous situation, the king consulted learned brahmanas, 39 and 40. The king said, to transgress the laws of respectful behavior toward the brahmanas is certainly a great offense. On the other hand, if one does not observe the breaking of the fast within the time of Dwadashi, there is a flaw in one's observance of the vow. Therefore, O brahmanas, if you think that it will be auspicious and not irreligious, I shall break the fast by drinking water. In this way, after consulting with the brahmanas, the king reached this decision. For according to Brahminical opinion, drinking water may be accepted as eating and also as not eating. Purport. When Maharaj Ambarish, in his dilemma, consulted the brahmanas about whether he should break the fast or wait for Durvasa Muni, apparently They could not give a definite answer about what to do. A Vaishnava, however, is the most intelligent personality. Therefore, Maharaj Ambarish himself decided, in the presence of the Brahmanas, that he would drink a little water. Cheers. For this would confirm that the fast was broken, but would not transgress the laws for receiving a Brahmana. In the Vedas it is said, Apo snati tan naivashitam naivasana shitam. This Vedic injunction declares that the drinking of water may be accepted as eating or as not eating. Sometimes in our practical experience, we see that some political leader adhering to satyagraha will not eat but will drink water. Considering that drinking water would not be eating, Maharaj Ambarish decided to act in this way. 42. O best of the Kuru dynasty, after he drank some water, King Ambarish, meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, waited for the return of the great mystic Durvasa Muni. Text 42. I'll stop the reading there. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Hey? I know. That means you got to come back tomorrow. That's the whole scam. That's the whole game, you know. This is a lesson also to all of you who want to preach. Never say everything. You sit down with some new guest and you tell them everything. He says, okay, I know everything now, and then never comes back. You got to learn to keep a little bit, you know, on this, just a little bit on the burner. So well, yeah, then what happens? We'll see you later. Hare Krishna. One of the tricks of the trade. Okay, now that we have microphones that are working, what happens? It didn't work, huh?
I guess. Or let's just make this. She said it sounded like an airplane taking off.
It's a very strong beep sound, continuously.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Even if it's on the
That means it's a defect.
connection.
Or it's just not meant to be used for this purpose. Something. There's something.
I can look it up.
Maybe it couldn't handle its material. It's too materialistic. Couldn't handle the Bhagavatam. And everybody, no, beep, 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 beep. Can't. No, I can't. Well, no, wait a second.
Well, now that we at least have them working on the phone, I can kind of research a little more and see if there's a way to fix that.
We'll see.
Annoying noises.
We'll see. Okay. The ball is in your court. Yes, Dr. Chris.
Thank you for the reading today. I am very curious in knowing what's the disc that was sacrificed and that has all the non-devotees fearful of.
Well, it's not that the disc was sacrificed.
Okay.
The disc was given to Maharaj Ambarish as a result of Maharaj Ambarish's devotional service. The disc is the ultimate weapon of Vishnu. And it has very sharp discs, and it moves very fast, and it also emanates fire at the same time. It's very dangerous. You don't want to mess with the Sudarshan disc. Nobody can mess with the Sudarshan disc. It's Vishnu's ultimate weapon, which means it's the ultimate weapon, period.
I got a simple question. It's about the word chakra. Is that the same as the chakras that no?
Well, it is indirectly, because a chakra is an area, and it's visualized as a round area, chakra. And, mandalas, chakras, they are visualized as being round. What else? I had another, by the way, I had another recording this morning because I talked all day yesterday, and I've talked all day today. I'm just, all of you, I need mercy, I need blessings, I need empowerment, and you can do it because you got the potency, so that I can do because it's so delicate now. We've done so much, and it's all been of one. It can't be too different. If it's too different, it just stands out like anything, and it's so quiet. I mean, it's a dead space. And it has to be the same resonance. It can't be just anything. Thank you. I knew Honest John would do it. He'd do it. Give it to me.
Question. A king by nature is a Sattva and is in the mode of passion. And King Ambarisa...
Who is in passion?
The king. To rule is a Sattva,
Yes.
is in the mode of
Yes.
passion. And King Ambarisa is he's a king, and at the same time he's a Vaishnava. He's a pure devotee. So can we say a pure devotee, and he can still rule perfectly? So can we say a Vaishnava can transcend the Varnashram system and perform any sorts of duty?
Well, the pure devotee is above the Varnashram system, period. But for the organization of human society, if he's in a particular position, then he performs the same duty, but completely without attachment. That was the whole purpose of that one verse, where it says he had this, and then when he became a pure Vaishnava, he gave up attachment to this, and this. He didn't have any attachment to any of it, even to the decisions he was making, even to the duties that he performed as a king. Actually, if you're in that position, you have to act like a king. So you have to do things that appear to be like Arjuna. Its classic example is Arjuna. He was a Kshatriya before he heard the Bhagavad Gita and surrendered to Krishna, and he was a Kshatriya after he. It's not that he changed his position just because he was a pure devotee. If Krishna wants that done, you can do it in pure devotional service, then we do it. And Prabhupada, managed the whole movement in the whole world, and at the same time did literary things that nobody else in the history of the world had done. He published 15 volumes of the Chaitanya Charitamrita from the manuscript stage, scratch, to the final files being sent off for publication in 2 months. 15 volumes, including artwork. Yeah, it's not. When they heard it, it was on a morning walk when he gave them the order, and Ramaswar and Radhaballabha, who was managing director and whatever, they said, "Prabhupada, that's impossible." Prabhupada just stopped. He looked at and he says, "Impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary." And then he just kept on walking, and they were like, and all the devotees were looking at them. Yeah, you're And Prabhupada just walked on, and all the devotees walked on, and they were like standing there in the middle of I think it was either the beach or the park, wherever it was, standing there just stunned. And Prabhupada was so powerful that they knew they had to do it. So they just, and Ramaswar told me personally that when he got that, it was such a shock. And when he moved on to everybody, then automatically ideas started coming into his brain, how to do it. And then he asked Prabhupada, "We can try to do this, well, we'll do it, but you have to stay with us for these 2 months." Because he never stayed in 2 months at that time of the year. He said, "All right, I'll stay for 2 months." And then they did it with his personal presence. He empowered them to do it. There's famous pictures of artists, and they took a picture at the end of the night. They were like this, asleep, and they woke up like this. Same. Oh, yeah. It was amazing. They'd have teams of devotees doing art, doing one painting so that it could be finished immediately. It was amazing. Prabhupada was amazing. What he could do, how he could energize and, correlate the energy to get things done. especially with us who didn't know what we were doing. Amazing. So yes, Vaishnava is transcendental to the modes of nature, but in the organization of the world, or in parts of the world, or even in our movement, we have to take those roles. You got something? Nothing? Oh, all right. Okay, well, tell you what I'm going to do, folks. I'm going to stop. Because if I can have from now until the end and not talk completely, maybe I can do the reading tomorrow morning.
And then we got a question just now.
Who was it?
Rati Mujari.
Leave it to Rati. Okay, Rati. One more. This is it.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Tonight, I appreciated that Srila Prabhupada is never hesitant to speak out about what is the duty of a real government, how to engage people in devotional service. He criticized strongly how the current governments are defective, so strong and so responsible of him, and so much weight is on our shoulders to assist him in his mission. Thank you for the ecstatic story of the CC being printed in 2 months. You just gave us the advice that as preachers we should never say everything, but keep something on the burner, so people come back.
Don't make a law out of this. I mean, this is what devotees do. You say one thing and they make some law out of it, and we have to do this or we have to do that. It's an individual case. It's different. Some people you want to say everything because they'll come and join. Yeah, when a person is actually ready to come and join, like, here's back to Chris, I didn't leave anything out. I just, okay, Chris, come on, you're coming right now. And then he just said, okay, Can't say that to me. Each person is different. You have to have a different approach with each person.
She goes on to ask, she said, it's one of the tricks of the trade. Could you please give us another trick?
Okay, I'm going to give you a little trick. I'll see you later. I'll see you back tomorrow. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Maharaja Ambarisa ki jai. See you tomorrow night at 6:30, same time, same place, same station. Hare Krishna.